By the time they get to the buy button or get to the end of the page, they're like, heck yeah, I want this. This is super valuable. The competition's irrelevant when you're completely authentic in yourself.
How you made the transition from just being a digital strategist to a visibility strategist.
We've been told for so long, provide value for free in exchange for like an email. And you're saying, no, don't do that. Yep. Why is that?
Can I swear?
Yes,
yeah.
100%.
Okay.
Here we go. Hey creators, it's your hosts, Natalie and Yasmin, and you're listening to the CourseCreation podcast. We'll talk business, building digital empires, and how to create passive income to start living a life you love. We are here to empower those of you who are thinking of starting your own course and to support those who are already well on their way to success. We've built a 7-figure media agency on unique storytelling, and now we're here to share our story in the course creation world, and more importantly, to hear yours. We are committed to creating a space for learning and a space for diversity and inclusion. Now let's get the show started. 3, 2, 1, action. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the CourseCreation podcast. Our guest today is a smart, strategic, and driven lady. She's a Minnesotan mother of 3, a visibility strategist, coach, and consultant. Through her transformational program, she has helped hundreds of amazing and inspired entrepreneurs and business owners launch and scale their online businesses. We're so excited to have Allie Bjerk on the show today. Allie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay! I've been really looking forward to this episode because I'm also a mother and I know what it's like to have like a side hustle and then raise a little one and then just still like do everything. And I think some women, it's kind of like, can we really do it all? And I think you really do it all. So that was a amazing intro, but we really just want to hear from you in your own words. Tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and what you're all about.
Awesome. So I specialize in digital marketing. I've been in marketing for probably, I think it's over 10 years now. I've done all of the things in the digital marketing industry. And finally, I got to a point where I was tired of doing it for everyone else. And I wanted to launch my own things and, have my own funnel baby, digital product baby. And I launched it. And it took me a lot to finally get to that point mentally. But once I did it for myself, it took off. And I had just a crazy breakaway year of business. And it wasn't an overnight success. It took a really long time. But in the last year, we have sold over 2 million in business or 2 million in sales we created what I call a tiny offer. So like a $27 offer. And then we nurtured that audience. And then we sold a $5,000 group program to that audience. So we've really broken down all the steps of what it takes to create a tiny offer, but how to build it in a way that attracts the high-end buyer too, and then you can sell your higher ticket digital product to that audience that you've brought in through your tiny offer.
Wow. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. It's so amazing to also hear your results. Before we really dive into the juice of everything, let's go back a little bit and talk about you and your upbringing and what led you to entrepreneurship.
Yeah, absolutely. So I went to school for graphic design. I loved art all through high school. I was a little bit of a slacker. I was very much so a social, I don't know if butterfly is the right word. That seems weird to say, but like I loved people. I loved studying what made their brains work. I just loved seeing how they interacted and what made them make decisions. And I was so into just people that art was kind of I was in honors classes, but I was never quite the honor student. I was in band. I was never quite the band student. Like I was in all these different social cliques, but I always felt like I was a little bit of an outsider for all of them, but I understood all the people very well. So that kind of led me to being in graphic design school and realizing I wasn't quite the one who wanted to be behind the computer all the time. I wanted to have that interaction with people. So then I added a major. I ended up double majoring in marketing and graphic design because I was like, ooh, let's be in college for longer. Let's go to more parties. Like it was still very social for me. So then I added the marketing side and I just fell absolutely in love with marketing and sales and advertising. And when I graduated, it was like the peak of the previous recession. It was 2008. So there weren't very many jobs. And I took a sales job selling cell phones right out of college because that was like the only thing I could find. And I actually realized that sales were pretty fun too. So then I had sales, marketing, design, kind of the big three in this world. And I finally found a job in my industry doing SEO. Didn't even know what SEO meant. I saw the job description for a web design agency and I was like, I can learn this. So I Googled SEO and I'm like, search engine optimization. Okay. I Googled enough to be able to answer questions in the interview and pretend I knew what I was talking about. I had no idea what I was doing. Ended up getting the job somehow, and then jumped headfirst into the SEO world, which was a crazy start to a first job. I was like, I don't know, 22, pretending like I knew what I was doing. So I fell like deep into the world of info products. And because I had to learn everything very quickly. I had to learn, how to optimize website, how to look up keywords, how to use Google Analytics. I didn't know any of it. And I found this whole world of people who were teaching courses. So I bought I had my company buy as many products as I could so that I could learn. And I was like, wow, this is a thing. Like these people are making money creating things that they know, or they're like digitizing their knowledge and creating and selling products. And I'm like, wow, that would be so cool to do that. And then it took me, probably like 10 years to go from implementing to actually creating my own products. But I fell in love with the industry from the beginning. And I remember, some of the original marketers selling their products, and it's crazy. Like a lot of them are still around, but 10 years ago it was Frank Kern and people like that I was following and fangirling over. And now Frank Kern's my one-on-one coach. So it's like just the whole life of, like being involved and wanting to do it and then finally jumping in. That's kind of the long-winded version of the story, but now I'm here.
That's so cool, Allie. And I know you're a digital strategist. There's no doubt in that. That's what you've been breathing and living and for the past decade. And now you basically have sort of not transition, but what sets you apart is that you are a visibility strategist. And I love to note on that because there's a lot of things that you said, it's all about the visibility side of things is the inner work that you have to do, the confidence building that's involved. You talk about the consistency and the captivation, all that good stuff. So I would love to hear your perspective on how you made the transition from just being a digital strategist to a visibility strategist.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's cool that you noticed that distinction because it was like an aha moment for me. I was actually running on the treadmill and I was like, there's so many digital marketers and how can I ever set myself apart from them? I feel like I come at it from a little different angle. And then I realized for me that using digital marketing is about getting visible. But in order to get visible, you have to be comfortable. You have to, be willing to put yourself out there. There's a lot of fear of success, fear of rejection, fear of your family judging you. Like there's a lot of stuff that comes into play when you're actually using the tactics of digital marketing. So for me, it was more kind of like give people what they, what they think they want. And they think they need to be more visible. They think they need to be more consistent. And that's kind of how my first tiny offer was born with the live stream calendar. It was a $27 product that gave them 365 ideas to go live. But it was sneaky because if people used it, they were visible every day. They were gaining confidence. They were gaining momentum. They were, just showing themselves that they can commit to something and do it. So it came at it from like a mindset perspective that people didn't even realize was there. It was just like, oh, go do a short live stream every day. But that that's kind of what my Tiny Offer Lab program does too. It's like, oh, you're just designing this little baby funnel. Like it's just this tiny product, but they're learning how to use Facebook ads. They're learning how to create a sales funnel. They're learning how to write emails. It's like the depth of what they're actually learning, it comes in and like sneaks up on people. They're like, wow, I had no idea that so much was involved in creating a tiny offer, but also how much I was going to shift my beliefs and what I can do for my business and how I can bring in leads and how I can just show up consistently without needing to be on my computer all the time. So it like blows people away, but it's a sneaky angle. So the visibility strategist is the same sort of thing of like, it is about being visible and coming up with the marketing tactics to get visible. But I just felt like that angle was more encompassing of what it like brought in the mindset piece a lot more than just saying I was a digital marketing person. It's so much more than that.
Absolutely.
Or it needs to be for most people.
Absolutely. Let's dive into the tiny offers because I think that's a really unique value that you're offering, but also it kind of gives people like a mind shift around this industry, because we've been told for so long, provide value for free in exchange for like an email. And you're saying, no, don't do that.
Yep.
Why is that?
So one of my best converting ads, the headline is "Nobody wants your freebie," and it was like super triggering for people. They're like, "But people love my freebie. I get so many leads from my freebie." But for me, it's like, who's giving you money? Who's paying? At the end of the day, are they actually investing in you, or are they just downloading your PDF and filing it and forgetting who you are? I've had a lot of students who were relying just on the freebie strategy, and they're like, people would report my emails as spam and be like, I never signed up for this. I'm like, well, yeah, you did. You got a freebie. But people don't value the freebies the same way they do investing in things. So I am wholeheartedly a heart-centered entrepreneur. Like, I love providing value. I love connecting with people. But if I'm paying to host people on my email list, like, I want to make sure that they're as committed to me as I am to them at that point. So I've shifted the free content into more like, what can I say on my Facebook page? What are my Instagram stories? How can I connect and give free value in that level before asking for any sort of commitment? Because once people have joined my email list, most of them, I have a 2-step order form. So they either almost bought the product and then they were added to the email list, or they went all the way through and bought the product. So I know they're at least somewhat committed to becoming a customer.
Yeah, and the other thing that really stands out to me, Allie, is like, even going on your website right now, there's so much value in the content that you've put out there. And I haven't participated in your, live Facebook groups, which I'm excited to participate in and get connected in that sense. But there's so much value that you already provide, and in the sense that you're outlining what it is that people can get from your program. So I feel like that almost works as a freebie in a sense, because there's no sugarcoating, there's nothing hidden. It's like, if you want this value, then start, commit. And the commitment is that accountability. So when I do pay, even if it's $1 or $20 or $30, you're absolutely right. People are more invested, and it doesn't just get, chucked away in a folder and lost in your emails and whatnot. So
exactly.
I really, really love that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so also, I think this was like a great question, which I was also really, it resonated with me. There is a question of people asking you a lot of times and DMing you about how they can create their own tiny offers. And that's where Natalie and I are in our journey of pushing out our course on our video editing course, but also everything else that we're doing. So maybe you can use this as a case study and give us a little hinter as to what we can do to create our own tiny offer.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the distinctions there's a lot of people who are starting to teach this strategy because it does work very well. And one distinction that is different from how we teach it or how I teach it versus how other people are teaching it is that it's not a PDF. Like, it's a product suite that you're selling. And if it's designed correctly, you're going to attract people who will want to buy your more expensive course. They're not just going to end at the tiny offer, whether it's, 17 or 27 or whatever the low ticket price is. If you design it in a way where you're still saving the person time, so if you can give them, video templates, if it's like the header and the footer thing, maybe you give them a pack of video templates that they can use in Premiere Pro, if that's what your course is focused on. So you're saving them time. But the reason that works, and I talk about this a little bit in my webinar, but people are usually in one of two camps. They either want to save their money and spend their time. Like, if they don't have a lot of money to spend, they're going to, it's anybody who's in that newbie stage, they're going to have more time to spend. But then there's also an audience where they're like, I will pay whatever, just save me the learning curve. Like, I want to pay and I want to shorten my time in learning, becoming an expert. I'll pay whatever you want. So if you can attract people that have that efficiency mindedness, the efficiency mindset of like, I will pay, just save me the time, that's when you're going to attract people onto your email list that are willing to invest. Like, that's just where their brains are at, right? They're like, I'll buy whatever as long as it's going to save me time. So if you can bring that time saving thing into designing the product, that's going to attract the right people, that it's not just like, a PDF that they're paying for and still not really valuing. So that's, if you can design a product suite for you, it could be something like, those templates of if it's like the header footer thing, that's just top of mind. But you can also do like case studies of, here are people where they did their own Premier Pro, and look at the different, look at how much it made an impact on their business. And it's almost like you're sending them testimonials for why you guys are awesome and why they should continue investing. But for them, it's like, oh, I'm going to look at all these other different business owners that I can relate to and see how it would work for me. Like, people find a ton of value in that.
That's really
awesome.
That's really great. Thank you. Those are really great ideas. I think my wheels are already turning what we can do.
Yeah. Well, and then the other thing, sorry, now I'm excited. The other thing, one thing that people do when they're just jumping in with product creation is they don't think through how the bonuses actually relate to the product. They're like, oh, I could just throw this thing in and I could add this. And, now it feels like they're getting a lot. But the point of the bonuses is to think about what the buyer's running dialogue is in their head, why they're like, yeah, but this isn't going to work for me because of blah. Like, yeah, but, the entire time they're reading your sales page, they're like trying to come up with reasons why they shouldn't buy it. So if you can shift the bonuses to helping them answer those yeah, but questions, like, yeah, but I don't know enough about Adobe, or I don't own Adobe. I mean, maybe it's like a coupon code where they can sign up for Adobe for cheaper or something. It's like you start overcoming those objections, and those become the bonuses for the tiny offer. And then by the time they get to the buy button or get to the end of the page, they're like, heck yeah, I want this. This is super valuable.
Yeah. Great. I love that you mentioned that. We're also, we were trying to figure out, reasons why somebody wouldn't buy our course. And one of our videos is, but I don't have Adobe Premiere Pro. What do I do? And we actually show them how to download the free trial so they can have it for 2 weeks and then figure out how to use it.
That's such a great, I'm obviously graphic design background, so I couldn't live without Creative Cloud, but man, that's a good option for people.
Yeah. Great. I'm so happy to hear you. Fingers crossed. Yeah. So I kind of want to move on, because the tiny offers is essentially a lead magnet. Would you agree with that? It's to capture people's emails and then get them onto the next stage. So moving on from the lead magnet, once they've basically bought in to your tiny offer and they're invested, what are the next steps? Like, how do you nurture them in a way where they feel comfortable moving forward with you?
So a lot of it comes down to making sure that they're in contact with you, or that, they're continuing to see your face, and hopefully they've logged in and looked at their product. But there are ways to gamify that. Even like if they've like ghosted, you can send them certain emails and make sure that they actually log in and take advantage of what they purchased. But a lot of it happens through email marketing and just continuing to email them afterwards. And for some people, it can be like a 3-week email sequence where you're sending them a couple emails every week, and then you're inviting them to a bigger opportunity or another one-to-many sales opportunity, like a webinar or a challenge or something like that. You can also, if you have an active free Facebook group, you can invite them to join the Facebook group. So it's just a matter of staying in front of them and making sure that the purchase isn't just like the end of the conversation. It's how can you get back in front of people? And one of my students had like a workout tiny offer, and I bought it because I wanted to, it's coronavirus time right now and we're all working out at home, and I needed a little boost. And I sent her a message and I was like, hey, now would be a great time to email me about your one-on-one services, because like I bought it 3 days ago, and now I'm thinking like, man, I'm going to need some accountability, or I'm going to need somebody to walk me through this. So really thinking through your customer's journey as well. And, what's going to happen? What are they going to experience after buying your product? Are they going to need more support? Are they going to have questions? And putting that in front of them, so you're answering their questions before they even really realize that they have them.
I was going to say, I want to talk a little bit about the email marketing, because I think that anybody who's getting into this industry, there needs to be a little bit of like a mind shift when it comes to email marketing. For us, for the longest time, for the past 10 years, like spam was like a huge thing. And if somebody finds our email and then emails us a whole bunch, we just like get angry and we're like spamming it. Then I remember like even replying, like, stop emailing me. Like, how do you, get your a mind shift around that, because this is a huge part of this industry, is like staying top of mind, continuously reaching out, trying to be, there for your potential client, but also not being annoying.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's one that I had myself. So I hired a consultant to help me launch my high ticket program, because I was going to launch it as like a small thing. And I had a friend who watched it and he was like, you have to like blow this out of the water. You need to do a group program. You need to be loud. Like, this is big. You're onto something really big. And so he helped me build it out and he helped me create the emails. And I was like, yeah, but this many emails is going to like annoy people. And I don't want to be too loud. And can I swear?
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
Beep, beep,
His
beep,
answer,
beep.
he's like, people who get pissed off are going to get pissed off. So like, if you piss someone off, they were never going to buy from you anyway. So don't be afraid of emailing people, because the ones who are bought in, the ones who want to give you money, like, they're going to open your emails, even if you're emailing them every single day. So that was like a big shift for me of like, not everybody's going to like me. Not everyone's going to want to get my emails, and that's okay. It's not a reflection of, whether I'm a valuable human or not. It's just that person isn't all the way bought in, and there's an unsubscribe button for a reason. So I think knowing that the right people are going to get the email, the right people are going to open it, and it's fine. You don't need to worry about emailing people too much. I mean, obviously there is a limit. You don't want to do like 4 times a day or something like that, but just watch your email open rates and stuff, knowing that 20% is pretty normal for even an open rate. And I know people who are like, only 20 people of every 100 I email are opening my emails. That's horrible. Like, that's pretty normal. So I think it's also that mindset adjustment of what are benchmark numbers in this industry, and what is that? Are you hitting the mark? Like, and it's okay if it's only 20%.
And I think what I'm struggling with a little bit right now is wrapping my head around what that content should look like. So how fresh is your content? If you are sending an email every other day or every week, or, whatever that sweet spot is in terms of numbers of emails to go out, my struggle is like, how often are you providing fresh content? Or is it okay to repeat the message? Because obviously our message at its core is what it is.
So I do a lot of things within that welcome sequence. I honestly, I don't do a lot of like just like weekly updates or anything like that. I could probably be better at that, but I'm a bit of a minimalist, where if people come in, there's a 3-week welcome sequence where everyone gets the same set of emails, and then it invites them to the evergreen webinar. And then, after that, if I'm promoting something or I'm doing like a joint promotion with someone, then I'll email the entire list. But for the most part, I don't worry about repeating content, because it's like they come in and they're not really seeing any other emails other than that first set of, like 3 weeks getting to know you type emails.
Let's talk about the evergreen funnel for a second, because it sounds like you have one set up and then it just like automates after a certain amount of weeks. I think there's the conception with this industry that you can just set up like a passive course and it will just continue to do things. How involved are you in your evergreen funnel? Like, how much do you have to manage it, go into it, connect with your audience?
Yeah, quite a bit. I mean, so for us, I used to do a weekly live webinar. Like every Sunday night I was going live, and then coronavirus hit, and I was thinking about just how people were using their phones, how connected we were at all times. We were like scrolling all day, every day. At least I was. So I'm like, man, that's a huge opportunity to get in front of people and let them watch anytime, instead of making people wait for a Sunday night. And we didn't really know, what are people's moods going to be like on Sunday night? Are they even going to want to plan on watching a webinar live? Is that going to work for my kids, my family? So I ended up shifting. Probably late March, we took everything that we had for the live webinar and just packaged it and put it into an evergreen webinar. We took one of the recordings. And now the work is like launching different Facebook ads all the time. So new creative, so it seems fresh, and new messaging in the Facebook ads. And then we're watching evergreen webinar performance, and we found, that people would book calls before seeing the price. So then they'd get on with our sales team, and they weren't really prepared to know what the price point was. So then I did a ended up doing another live version. So we got a new recording where I say the price point sooner. So you just kind of watch how people are engaging with the video. Are they dropping off at a certain point? Are they booking calls? Knowing what all those percentages are, and, again, understanding benchmarks and comparisons. So making sure that, as long as your ads are profitable at the end of the day, that was always a good point for us. But it's a different game than the tiny offer, because when you're running ads towards a tiny offer, you see that return immediately. Like, you're making sales all day, every day. And then, you see the money coming in. But when it's evergreen, it's a longer process. So you're running ads, you're having people watch the webinar, then they're booking a call with a sales team, and then they're, either buying or not buying. So it's a longer game. Mm-hmm.
Let's go back quickly to email lists, because obviously email lists are important, but everybody has a different definition or understanding or take on their importance and how to grow them. So I'd love to hear your perspective on how do we grow that email list if we're starting from zero?
Yeah.
How do we start?
Tiny offer. A tiny offer is a great way to grow your email list, because you're visible all the time. And it's like you jump into that authority level right away, because when people see ads, like, something shifts in their brain when they're seeing you as a sponsored post, they're seeing you consistently. It's like all of a sudden you've set yourself up to be like the Louis Vuitton purse of the industry, because they just see you and they recognize you all the time. It's like that, I don't know, influencer mindset where they see you a little bit differently than someone who's in Facebook groups pushing a freebie. So that's a great way to start building your list. And that before launching my own tiny offer, my email list was like 400 people, because I had never really focused on, that was my priority as a service provider. I was always working with referrals, and I just didn't need to grow my email list. But now I think it's like 31, it's grown from 400 to 31,000 over the last year, just because of using direct response marketing. And like, I do rely heavily on paid media, but with having that tiny offer, I know I'm getting, X amount of leads every single day that are paying for themselves, essentially. So it's another name for the tiny offer strategy is a self-liquidating offer, because the ads, the cost is liquidating immediately. So you can scale to your heart's delight, which is nice, because, a lot of people, when they're advertising a freebie or paying for ads to a freebie, it is that longer process of, if I were to just do freebie to webinar invitation, I mean, that could be like almost 3 weeks before seeing any sort of money come back. So a lot of people will lose their heinies on ads when they're just doing a freebie style.
Mm-hmm. Lose their heinies on ads.
Their heinies, yes.
I really love that strategy, because I think it's really actionable. I think for us, everybody we've been talking to, they're giving us a lot of suggestions of things that we can do within our community, people we can talk to, like, things that don't necessarily cost money. But it sounds like what you're recommending is create a tiny offer, put a price on it, and then put ads behind it for somebody who's starting out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, for you, you're not totally starting from scratch. Like, if someone didn't know their niche, they didn't know their specialty, they didn't know their business, that's probably not a great point to start at with a tiny offer. But when you know what you ultimately want to sell longer term, and you know who you're talking to and what value you can bring, you can totally start there. But, if someone is totally brand new and they don't have a business at all, it's a little bit more dangerous, just because the messaging needs to be so dialed in for ads to work and for, the direct response style marketing to work, because you are asking them to make a buying decision without knowing you. So if the copy isn't spot on, it's a lot harder to get people into the mindset of knowing how valuable it is. Mm-hmm. And making that emotional buying decision. Because that's what a lot of direct response copy is just connecting and getting people to a point of, emotionally resonating with your story and needing your product and feeling like they're safe and it's going to be a valuable purchase.
Mm-hmm. Really, really great point. We have, just as a side note, we have a couple of thousand, I think it's like 3,000 people in our email list, but they include people who we've met, networking events, clients. It's just like a mixed bag of people in different industries and different disciplines. And we've been having a lot of conversations back and forth of, do we utilize that email list that we have, or do we need to go back and curate it and maybe select 100 or 200 and start off from there? Are there any tips or advice that you can give when it comes to this situation?
Yeah. Can I just also add, because I have feelings about this list. This list is like a list we've been curating for the past 10 years from like our corporate days, right? Like these are our clients that we did services for. They're like CEOs and like big,
it's a mix.
VPs,
it's a mix.
And people we've met at market. And I'm like, this is not our demographic. I personally need a mind shift around sending them an offer. And what are your thoughts on that?
I think segment as much as you can. You know, if you can do some sort of warm up strategy where you're sending them enough emails where if they did get pissed off, they'd, unsubscribe. You curate this experience for them where if they want to stay and they want to learn more about the direction you're shifting into, you give them that opportunity to decide if they want to stay or go. But you could also think of your CEOs and your VPs, like think of them as almost referral partners. So if you send some sort of segmenting email that's like, hey, this is what we're up to. Would you self-identify, what type of emails are you more interested in? And you make it super easy with like the one-click segmentation. So they could say like, oh, I'm in corporate. I only want to receive emails about corporate things. And they like get shifted to a different tag in your email system. So then if you ever do have a product that they could sell to their team or that, bring you in to teach something or a summit that they're putting on, don't just get rid of those contacts because they could be great referral partners in the future. And the fact that you're connected with people at some of those organizations is awesome. But they probably aren't going to buy a course for entrepreneurs either. So just knowing.
I really appreciate that. Yeah. It's like basically you have to understand the roadmap of these are the types of people and these are the questions that we need to ask and filter them through essentially. So
yeah, exactly. Because every time somebody gets an email or does anything, our first question is always like, well, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? So if you can answer that question, what's in it for your VPs to click a button in your email? I mean, maybe what's in it for them is that they're not going to get more emails that don't apply for them. Maybe that's like, enough to entice them to click, but maybe there's something else that you can offer them. For some people, they'll do like you get a free bonus PDF or something if you click the link. I mean, that's going back to freebies, but they're already on your email list, so maybe it's okay. But other people, if you do like a survey where they're segmenting, they'll offer like a $5 Starbucks gift card or something for completing the survey. But that can be expensive if you have lots and lots of people.
That does sound expensive.
Yeah, it adds up. I tried it once. Well, I did it one time, and then I had the thing where there's a barcode for the, you like go scan your own barcode, and you have to be careful doing that because people will like, take out the entire gift card.
Oh my goodness. Good tip.
Yes, be careful. Yeah. Or they'll take your points, which is what someone did to me. And I was like, seriously, I've been working so hard for those Starbucks card points.
Oh no.
It's all good.
So Allie, you've obviously, you've clearly won our hearts because we basically came across you on Instagram and we've been like following you, and I feel like we already know you so well, and you've really built that trust factor in us and in your loyal fans, super fans. So can you talk to us about like building trust and how long it took you to get to a place where you felt confident in sharing your story and really getting in depth and being yourself 100% to build that trust?
Yeah, it's a lot of self-work. It's like the work that you don't see, but it's like the behind the scenes journaling and just like acceptance that not everyone's going to like me and people are going to have different opinions. And I think just learning that when you're truly happy with who you are and how you're showing up in the world, like you don't care as much about what other people are going to think. And that lets you show up so much more authentically in your marketing. And also, if you're not, there are people who are trying to create a brand around themselves. Like there's this one woman that I ran ads for a long, long time ago, and she had her brand was very like upscale, like, yacht and, high rise apartment. And then like when you'd get on a call with her, she's got like a scruffy sweatshirt on and a messy bun and no makeup. And it was like, there was no consistency in her brand. Like she had crafted this not authentic life for herself of how she wanted to show up. And I think people can feel that. Like if you're not actually who you say you are on the internet, they're going to feel it. And at some point it's going to come out and like all the trust is going to be broken. So I show not just the highlight reel, but I'll show the messy parts and like the stressful things about being an entrepreneur and like staying up late or having kids who are sick or, like the things that don't always seem super glamorous. Like I show a little bit of everything. And I think that's helped people relate to my life as an entrepreneur, but it also encourages them to like, yeah, I can do this too. Like she doesn't have a full-time live-in nanny and a full-time chef and cleaning lady. Like she's juggling all the things just like I am. And hopefully that encourages people to know that they can build the business for themselves too. And I'm pretty open also about like the expenses of having a team and, like ads cost money too. And it's not just like the Stripe screenshot of, look, I made $1 million. It's like the QuickBooks screenshot of like, oh, but also like there's ad costs and team costs. And, it's not all profit when someone's saying like, look at my big sales day. Mm-hmm. So I think just, being bought into myself and not wanting to create something that's not real has helped in the marketing.
100%. I've been stalking you online for a little bit in a good way. I don't know if you can do that in a good way, but I'm doing it in a good way.
Yeah.
Like when we just got on this episode, I feel like I could really connect to you because I'm also a mother and I'm married to a frontline worker. I'm married to a doctor who's very, very busy and works very late hours. And one of my biggest drives is I want to, contribute financially in our household to a place where he can work less. Mm-hmm. And that's a huge driver for me because, we have a 2-year-old daughter. I want us to both be present. It's such an amazing time. And I want us to both be there and watch her grow. And I remember listening to a podcast where you talked about that. You talked about one of your drives being wanting to provide more so that your husband didn't have to go away for work so much. And so my question is, do you feel like you're finally at a place where that's happened?
Yeah, we're getting there. Part of the problem is that our goals keep getting bigger though. So now it's like, now we don't just want single family homes. We want like apartment buildings. So I think, you've got to have a 5-year plan where you just like, you pull the plug and you're like, okay, this is it. Like we have everything we need. We're debt free, like whatever that looks like for you. And then just knowing that you're ready to make that jump, because for us, it's like, we probably could do that, but now we want to keep investing in even more, and having 2 incomes can kind of help the bank at least to know that that's a safe decision. But yeah, I mean, it's still totally something that I'm striving and working towards. But I also shifted how I was thinking about it, because I was like making it his dream. Like, I'm going to retire you and I'm going to do all the work so that you'll be at home. And then like, maybe he likes his job, or maybe he likes, traveling. He likes what he was doing. And I think I realized that I was coming at it from a selfish perspective of like, actually, I just want you to be home so I'm not lonely anymore. And realizing that kind of shifted the way that I was planning, or I mean, some people call it like manifesting, but like when I'm visualizing my life, is it because I want him home and I don't want to be alone? And then maybe I need to do some work on myself of like, I'm good, like doing, not saying this is the same story for you, but for me, it was like,
it is. 100%.
Is it? Well,
yeah, I want him to be home, but I know he loves his job and he would rather work a lot more hours.
No,
and I'm like,
hard.
I'm just not where you're at, where I'm ready to like let go of that.
Yeah. I mean, that was a big shift for me too. In just how I was thinking about growing my business, is that like, if it's because I don't want to be alone, what work do I need to do to be okay? Like being the, main care provider of 3 kids and knowing that I'm still getting my work done. Do I need to bring someone even outside of the house in to help me if I want to travel or I want to go somewhere? So it kind of like shifts just your beliefs about how you can grow your business and like why you're doing it. And I think the more clear you get on your why, it just makes it so much easier to keep showing up.
Amazing. Okay,
and
before we
doing the
move
work.
on to,
Yes.
I quickly want to cover the mom thing because it's like a
Yeah.
huge, like it's a huge thing for me. But you just mentioned it, being the main caregiver for 3 kids, running an online business. I mean, like how do you do it? It's like it's
Yeah.
mind blowing to see it, and that's why I'm saying like I know women can do it all, and I think that you represent that. I think there's a lot of pressure in women today versus like even 50 years ago to do it all. Like we are now, you know, entrepreneurs going out into the workforce, bringing big paychecks home, but still, you know, being the main caregivers, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
So I want to touch on that real quick.
Yeah. I think if I could narrow it into like 3 things that I think I did well to get to this point, I did sprints in my business where if I had something that I needed to get done that I could see was like the thing blocking me or holding me back from getting to the next level, I would get up at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning and get the work done before the kids would work up or wake up. So it gave me like an extra 3 hours of work before the world is even really, they're waking up also, but not long term, because waking up at 3 or 4 a.m. is probably not good for your health longer term.
I was
But
gonna
if
say,
you do
what
it
time would
for,
you sleep?
yeah, for me, it was like 11. So that's not good. Like you just can't do that for very long. But if it helped me get a project done so that I could launch it and then know that it's going to bring income in, that was one thing that helped. Also, being really strategic about only doing like money generating activities. That's like the only work I did for a long time. So it was building digital products and then knowing what systems I can build to just go straight to the sale. And that's one reason why I'm not super visible on social media. I don't do a lot of podcast interviews, unfortunately. Like, really glad that I'm here with you guys today. But for the most part, like, I'm pretty quiet on the digital marketing side because my ads are doing all the work. So like having the systems, knowing what business model I need to build so that I can have a lot more freedom and a lot more space in my life, just because with little kids, like it can be hard to deliver the things that you're doing for other people if you're a service provider. And then also building a team that can pick it up or pick up my slack when I'm not able to do something. So I think it's like making space when I need to do the work, building a business model that really allows for that space and doesn't require a lot of, like outward visibility, just the strategic visibility that I've set up with paid media, and then having a team that can answer things that are on fire. So then like if there's a customer service email or if there's, some emails we need to get ready to go out, just really building a support team. And even in my group program, designing it from the beginning where their expectations are such that I'm not going to be in the group all day, every day. Like they know when they sign up, they get a call with me on Wednesday, but I also have added, team coaches and people inside of the group for accountability sessions. And like, they know that they're getting a ton of value, but I'm not 100% responsible for making sure that the value is there. They have like different layers of support so that they come in and they're totally taken care of. And it's like, I've curated that experience for them, but I'm not the one delivering it.
I love that you said that, because I think one of the biggest goals, and this is something that we experienced in our previous business too, was, okay, so we want to create this business so that we leave a legacy, whatever that legacy looks like, and so that the business would live above and beyond us. So if I, Yasmin, do not exist tomorrow, is this business going to live beyond me? And we really had an aha moment where we're like, no, like this business is so dependent. Even though we have a team in place, it's still so dependent. And that had to do with like trust factor, like not being a control freak, and like obviously
Right.
trusting and assigning and delegating and being a true leader. And I think that we've gotten a lot better at that over the years. But now that we are on this new journey and sort of this new division of our business, I really want to just put it out there for both Natalie and I, like putting processes in place, getting a team that believes in what your, what your mission is and what you're doing, to the point that they feel like they're part of it and they have, they have something at stake for themselves. Like they believe in you, so that you can step away, so that we can step away at one point or another and know that this can live beyond us, because that's ultimately I feel like, the goal. And I want to know from you, do you feel like you can step away at some point? I know you probably don't because you're passionate and you love what you're doing, but do you
Yeah.
feel that eventually you can retire and step away and
Yeah,
have
I
this
mean
life beyond you?
that's the ultimate goal, right?
Yeah.
And so in 2 weeks, not 2 weeks, in next month for 2 weeks, my family and I are taking an RV trip, and I'm going to be in an RV, probably not great cell phone service for 2 weeks, and I have no worries about being gone because
Amazing.
we've built the systems, we have people in place. I mean, even for my group, for me to tell them like, hey, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. Someone else is going to host the strategy call. I don't think anyone's going to be mad because there's so many other things that they're getting that are valuable, and like they're getting the results. They've got the support in place where it's not like they're going to be stuck on their journey if I'm gone for 2 weeks. So I feel like I'm at that point. Longer than that, that might be harder because it is a personal brand and it is still me, my face, my name. But one book that I read recently that was really interesting is called Built to Sell. And it's that, I don't know if either of you have read that book, but
No,
No, but I'm writing it down.
it's
Yeah.
really, yeah, it totally shifted the way that I thought about building a business and building that legacy, because it's like, what do you change in building your business if you're thinking about, how would someone else ever buy my company, and could my company survive if my name is not directly attached to that? So yeah, it totally shifted the way I thought about, pricing and specialization and, niching down and providing value. So I think that would be a really great book for anyone who's considering that legacy brand. Like, how do you build something bigger than yourself?
That's so interesting because Yasmin kind of touched on it, but it's been kind of like a huge, analysis paralysis moment for us in our business. We've been going back and forth talking about that for years. Like, what happens to NYB if Natalie and Yasmin step away and they're no longer the founders of it?
Yeah.
And then now, going into the course creation world, we're putting our faces on camera. We're the ones coaching the material. It's almost like we're leaning into that even more. So it's like, who's going to be the coach? Who's going to be the one on camera delivering the content if it's not you? And I personally I still struggle with that because the goal of one day would be potentially to sell the business. If you're talking about retirement, if you're talking about the big picture. So I think it's an interesting journey, and I feel like we're just on it, and there's no real answer to it yet.
Yeah. And maybe this business supports a second business that is more of the legacy style business. Like, that's kind of the shift that I've made recently, is like, how do I take the cash that I can make from this business and put it into something, whether it's investing in property or investing in, just like retirement savings. Like, how do I shift and take the cash? Because I mean, it can be a really, a strong cash generating business with, it's like we have this huge landscape of the internet where we can sell to anybody. I don't know that this is going to last forever. I don't know if info products are going to be legal forever. I mean, maybe at some point, like, we can't sell without getting taxed big time because, it's like, I don't have the confidence that this is going to last forever in the exact way that, that it's like an open playing field right now. So I've been trying to be really smart about not going out and buying the Lamborghini and not going and, like spending all the money, but like saving it and investing it into something that is known as a lifetime legacy investment style. Well, like real estate, but, like, how do you take this and turn it into something even bigger?
That's smart. We're all on the same page. We're in the same wavelength, and we're so passionate about financial literacy and financial independence and that whole world. So you're speaking our language.
Yeah. Well, and just not putting all the eggs in one basket either, because you never know. I mean, even with real estate, like with coronavirus, people couldn't pay their rent. So if you were only relying on real estate investing, like, you could still have taken a hit. I don't know what industry wasn't affected by this. It's just so crazy that, I don't think this was on anyone's 5-year plan of like, oh, global pandemic. Are we prepared for that?
Did the pandemic affect your business? Because a lot of the experts we've been talking to, they've said that if anything, it was even more on the rise.
Yeah, that. So I think because of, the shift of people being able to work from home and the curiosity about like, wait, there's this whole ecosystem over here that actually wasn't as affected as some of the other ones that seem like they should have been safer. So I think some of my best months were definitely like March, April, and May, and now heading
Wow.
into June. But
Wow.
and
Where do
I
you
feel
see
really
for the
blessed to
future?
say that. Oh, sorry.
No, sorry, go ahead. I
Oh,
missed what you
just
said.
like I feel really blessed to be able to say that, even if there is some level of guilt for like the restaurants that are shutting down,
Yeah.
and it's hard to see. So
Yeah.
hopefully they can find their slice of the internet and build an online business too.
Yeah. Well, I heard a rumor that the States is opening up July 9th, so fingers crossed everybody can get back to work. But
Yeah.
I really wanted to talk to you about this industry specifically. You know, there's this huge statistic going around, which we're also using, is that the e-learning industry is going to be a $325 billion industry by 2025. That's a statistic that they were circulating even before this pandemic. But what do you see for this industry now, post-COVID, and for the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think growth is the only direction possible at this point, because even, like kids' activities are in online courses, e-learning, and offices are using e-learning. And I think people were forced into making it work because of the pandemic. And now they're like, oh, wait, like all of our people can work at home. What is this? So it's like, I think it's only going to continue growing, and having a system to bring in the right people, and not be just noisy, and make sure you're speaking their language. I think that's going to continue being even more important as it gets more competitive and the ad space gets more filled with options.
How do you differentiate yourself? Because I think you kind of touched upon it already. You said you were on the treadmill. You're like, I'm just another digital marketer out there. Like, how do you, even for us, like video editing 101, there are courses out there on video editing 101. You know, what do you think, for people out there who look at this market and they're like, it's a super saturated market. There are so many people selling courses out there. Do I even need to get in this game? What would you say to that person?
Yeah, I think it's figuring out what your differentiating thing, or like your new opportunity within the market. What is that? Like, how do you teach it differently, or what angle do you teach it from that can benefit people differently than just the free YouTube videos? Or like, how do you, create that product suite where they're getting things that are saving them time, and, whether that's templates or checklists, or, like, how do you make it feel like it's a tangible product instead of just a free thing that they can watch? That can help differentiate it. But again, being completely sold in on who you are as a person and showing up authentically, like you're always going to attract the right people who want to learn from you instead of from the competitor. It's like there's so many brands of bread and so many different types of shampoo, and yet they're all successful because someone likes that brand of bread. They like the texture, they like the, taste, like whatever it is. You can build your own version of that in your business, and just show up knowing that the competition's irrelevant when you're completely authentic in yourself. And when you're visible and you're not questioning, like, who am I to show up? Like, who am I to teach this? When you just do the thing and you show up and do it, like people will resonate with that and find you.
I'm smiling from ear to ear because I've been saying that.
Yeah.
Like, I've been saying that to Yasmin forever. I'm like, there are
Yeah.
so many sneakers in the world. Why do you buy Nikes?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well, we're soon approaching our 1 hour, and I want to be conscious of our time with you, Allie, too. Just really quickly, just tell us a little bit about your programs that are available right now. I know you've got a few of them. Just talk us through it.
Yeah. Oh gosh, where do I start? Okay. So
Yeah.
as of today, I think I have 2 tiny offers that are live right now that people can buy. One is the live stream calendar. And then the second one is it's called Story Script. So it's about like how to use Instagram stories and what to say, and, how to make ones that sell. And then from there, like my higher ticket way to work with me is the Tiny Offer Lab, which is that group coaching program that I've been mentioning. I think it's a 24-week program as of, if we're talking on today's date. That could change. Like we're always testing and shifting different models. But so it's 6 months of access to the group and weekly calls, and pretty much like the digital marketing MBA version of everything you need to know to launch a digital product.
I really wanted to quickly touch on mindset, because I think mindset is so important in this industry. I know for us, we're constantly like iterating and shifting the way that we're thinking about the world and how we're creating content, and also how we're going to be selling. Do you have any sort of like really like high level advice for somebody who's struggling with that? Like somebody who's dealing with like imposter syndrome, analysis paralysis, like all of the stages. I'm sure you've gone through them yourself.
Yeah.
All the stages that
Totally.
it takes to actually put yourself out there and launch a course.
Yeah, I think for me, it was consistently journaling and being aware of my own thoughts, and figuring out what were the blocks where I found myself thinking like, oh, if I could only do this, I would be further along or smarter or better or whatever it was. And then I would like make myself do that thing. So figuring out what holds you accountable. There's this book called The Four Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin that's really good. And reading that book, I realized like I don't hold myself accountable to things. Are you writing it down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is recorded
you can't
too,
see
Nat.
me.
Yeah.
You can't see me.
Cool. Like understanding that if I set a date or I put a post-it on my board, I'm like, okay, this is the date I'm going to launch something. I would never do it. I just cannot hold myself accountable. So when I publicly like sold something or pre-sold it, I had to do it, like I had to show up. So I realized that about myself, like how I best hold myself accountable. And then I would commit to something. And then it's like, once you do it, you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad at all. And so like a few years ago, I think it was like 3 years ago now, I hated video. I would not get on video. I wouldn't do Skype calls. I wouldn't do Zoom calls. Like I refused. If someone wanted to hire me to do something and they wanted a video interview, I'm like, sorry, not a good fit. I'm not the one for the project. Like, and I realized like that was holding me back from being a better service provider and getting better clients. So I got on Skype coffee chats with people, and I did 30 of them in like 2 weeks, just because I needed to break that belief that I had of like, I can't do video. I'm awkward. Like this is weird. I feel uncomfortable. Like I did it so much that I just stepped into like the new version of myself where I'm like, video is no big deal. This is easy. It's the same for like Facebook Lives, for doing live webinars, for doing whatever the thing is that you're like, nope, not doing it. Nope. That's the thing you have to do. And then just figure out how to hold yourself accountable to actually like do the thing, and then realize like, oh, that really wasn't that bad. And then you're the version of yourself where you're not afraid of that thing anymore. And like, you just keep growing and expanding, like
Rip the Band-Aid off and just do it.
Yeah.
I love
100%.
that. I love that. Okay. We've come to the end. Last question. We ask this to everybody. And if you could leave our listeners with one last wisdom bomb, what would it be?
That consistency is in your brain. Like a lot of people say, if I could just be consistent, if I could just, keep doing the thing. You get to decide what consistency is for you. What is that baby step? Maybe it's checking your email in the morning and responding to everything. Maybe that's your version of consistency, or maybe it's live streaming every day, or maybe it's like consistently working on a product. I think people think that consistency only means you're doing everything all the time, but I think giving yourself permission that it looks different every single day. And as long as you're taking baby steps forward, you're going to go in the right direction. And like people put a lot of pressure on themselves to only do it the same way someone else has done it. So realizing that your business is going to look different, you got to show up for what's authentic to you and just keep moving forward. And you'll get
Bam.
There. Boom.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it
so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm
Thanks so
leaving
much
this on
for
such a
having me.
high.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. It was such a pleasure, and you're just like a wealth of wisdom and like so much amazing things that you've shared with us. So thank you so much. Where
Thanks
can
for
people
having me.
find you?
So pretty much the same username, same handle across everything. That's one benefit of having a strange last name, is that it was all available. So it's alliebjerk.com. So ALLIEBJERK.com. And then same on Instagram, Facebook, all the things.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time. It's been
thank
a
you.
pleasure. That's a wrap on another episode of the CourseCreation podcast. Thank you for tuning in and being a champion of ours. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit subscribe and take a quick second to review the podcast. We really want to hear from you. And we're going to be digging through reviews for our next guest. So if you're interested in being a guest, then you know what to do. Also, join our private Facebook community called the CourseCreation Crew to connect with other course creators. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at the CourseCreation Podcast. That is all. We appreciate you all so much and look forward to seeing you here next time.